The Varikian ship departed with unusual haste, leaving Captain Rice and her crew with more questions than answers. She stood on the observation deck, watching the alien vessel shrink to a pinpoint of light against the blackness of space. "They seemed almost afraid of us," Lieutenant Paddle said, joining her at the viewport, "which makes no sense given their technological superiority." Rice rubbed her temples, still feeling the strange pressure from the telepathic attempt. "Something happened during the meeting. When their ambassador looked at me, I felt this pushing sensation in my mind, like someone trying to open a door that was stuck." Back on Earth, the United Space Authority received the Curiosity's report with measured excitement. Humanity's first confirmed alien contact had gone peacefully, if somewhat awkwardly. The modest technological exchange, star charts, and basic propulsion theories was celebrated as a diplomatic victory. None of them could have known what was transpiring aboard the Varikian vessel. Ambassador Zev Laren faced the Council of Six through the quantum communication array, his crystalline features refracting light in patterns that conveyed deep distress. "The humans are not as they appear," he reported. "Their neural architecture resists standard mental scanning. When I attempted to assess their intentions, I encountered what I can only describe as a storm of electrical activity, chaotic, unpredictable, and impenetrable." Council member Turavashi leaned forward. "Impossible. All carbon-based sentients we've encountered have readable thought patterns." "These do not," Zev Laren insisted. "Their brains evolved differently. They possess a highly developed limbic system alongside complex rational capabilities, contradictory processes operating simultaneously. Their consciousness exists in a state of perpetual conflict and resolution." "Could it be technological shielding?" another counselor asked. "No. This resistance appears entirely natural, a product of their evolutionary path on a world with extreme environmental pressures. Their brains develop not just for survival, but for adaptability in rapidly changing conditions." The implications silenced the Council. Species with mental shielding were exceedingly rare in the known galaxy, and none had advanced to spacefaring capability without self-destruction. The combination of technological development with unpredictable thought patterns represented a potential security risk unlike any the Concorde had faced. Meanwhile, aboard the Curiosity, Science Officer Dr. Sarah Chen analyzed the limited data they'd collected on Varikian physiology. She found something curious about their nervous systems, a symmetrical arrangement that suggested unified thought processing. "It's like their brains are designed for consensus," she explained to Reyes. "Perhaps that's why they seemed uncomfortable with us. Our neural architecture is messy by comparison. We're constantly balancing conflicting impulses." Reyes considered this. "You think they could read our thoughts?" "Not exactly. But they might be accustomed to species with more predictable mental patterns." Neither of them realized how accurate this assessment was, nor that the Galactic Concord had already classified Earth as a monitoring priority following the Varikian report. Within 3 standard cycles, observation posts would be established at the edge of the solar system, disguised as asteroids, recording every human transmission and analyzing behavioral patterns. The conclusion of the preliminary assessment was already being distributed to member species. Approach with caution. The humans represent an anomalous evolutionary branch with unpredictable decision-making capabilities and natural resistance to telepathic influence. Their rapid technological advancement combined with their neural shielding makes them a species of significant interest. Humanity had just been labeled as something the galaxy hadn't seen in millennia, a potential wildcard in the carefully balanced cosmic order. Dr. Marcus Chen carefully documented the symptoms his team experienced: mild skin rash, headaches that diminished after 4 hours, and slight pupil dilation. Meanwhile, the alien scientists remained sealed in their protective suits, monitoring the humans with instruments that registered increasing levels of confusion. "You should all be dead," Zell Tabern finally stated through the translation device. The bluntness of the statement caught Chen off guard. "From the mineral dust. It's irritating, certainly, but hardly lethal," Chen replied. applying a cooling gel to his forearm, where the rash appeared most pronounced. Zeltabrin's compound eyes shifted, refracting light in patterns that suggested intense calculation. The crystalline structure contains neurotoxic properties that dissolve neural pathways in all tested species. A single microgram causes complete nervous system collapse in 97% of carbon-based life forms. The laboratory fell silent as the human researchers processed this information. Dr. Lakshmi Patel, the team's neurobiologist, was the first to understand the implications. "You're saying we were exposed to enough toxin to kill most intelligent species in the galaxy, and our worst symptom is a rash?" she asked, already reaching for a sample collection kit. "I need to analyze our blood work immediately." The results shocked even the human scientists. Their bodies had neutralized the toxin through a complex interaction between liver enzymes and white blood cells, an evolutionary adaptation resulting from Earth's uniquely hostile environment where plants, animals, and fungi produced thousands of defensive poisons. That evening, after the human staff had departed, Zeltabrin recorded his report for the Galactic Science Directorate. His voice trembled slightly as he described the implications. The human adaptive defense systems operate at efficiency levels unprecedented in our records. Their bodies contain specialized cells that identify, analyze, and neutralize foreign compounds, even those never before encountered in their evolutionary history. More concerning, their scientific approach to the incident demonstrates an alarming casualness toward biological threats. They were exposed to a Class 9 neurotoxin and responded by documenting symptoms as if studying a mild allergen. He paused, mandibles clicking in the equivalent of a nervous gesture. Most troubling is their world itself. Preliminary analysis of Earth's biosphere reveals an ecosystem saturated with compounds classified as lethal throughout the Concord. Their water contains natural oxidizers. Their atmosphere includes reactive gases. Their food sources produce defense chemicals that would be considered biological weapons on most worlds. The humans have evolved not merely to survive these conditions, but to require them for optimal function. In a private laboratory across the city, Dr. Petal continued her analysis of the team's blood samples long into the night. The alien toxin had triggered an immune response unlike anything in medical literature. The body had not just neutralized the compound, but had begun producing antibodies specific to its molecular structure. Theoretically, the team would now have permanent immunity to the alien poison. Adaptive immunity to a completely novel extraterrestrial compound. She whispered to herself, staring at the results. Our bodies treated it like just another terrestrial threat. She didn't realize that across the galaxy, the Concord Biological Security Council was convening an emergency session based on Zeltabrin's report. The classification of Earth had been upgraded from monitoring priority to biological anomaly of highest concern. A senior counselor summarized the situation with chilling accuracy. "We have encountered a species that evolved on a world that would be classified as uninhabitable by our standards. Their biochemistry doesn't merely tolerate conditions toxic to us. It thrives on them. If humans can neutralize unknown compounds with this efficiency, they possess potential biological capabilities that exceed our defensive measures." Earth, without knowing it, had just been categorized as a planetary-scale biohazard. The tournament director, High Marshal Vexlor, watched with growing concern as the human competitors entered Hour 14 of the Endurance Challenge. The event had never lasted beyond 9 hours in the tournament's 1,000-year history. Sophia Rodriguez and Jamal Washington now sat casually on the course, sharing nutrient bars during a brief rest period, while technicians adjusted the gravity field for the next phase. "We must end this demonstration," insisted Quilloran, the Corlin representative to the tournament committee. "The humans are clearly using some form of pharmaceutical enhancement." Vexilor's sensory antennae twitched with irritation. "We have tested their biochemistry extensively. They are using no artificial enhancements. This is their natural state. Impossible. No species can maintain physical performance at 1.8 times standard gravity while carrying twice their body weight. Their cardiovascular systems should have collapsed hours ago. The two officials fell silent as Sophia stood, stretching her arms overhead before hoisting her weighted pack with practiced ease. The arena's sensors reported her vital signs. Elevated heart rate, but well within functional parameters, moderate lactic acid buildup in muscle tissue, adequate oxygen saturation. Most concerning to the alien observers was her brain activity. Despite the physical stress, her neural patterns showed signs of what their systems classified as contentment. "They're enjoying this," whispered Vexlor. "Their bodies interpret stress as pleasurable." In the observation deck reserved for military attaches, Admiral Kavorn of the Dreskari Defense Force studied the human movements with professional interest. The human center of gravity remained perfectly balanced, even as the platform beneath them tilted at increasingly severe angles. When Washington stumbled briefly on a shifting panel, his recovery happened so quickly that the high-speed recording systems barely captured the micro-adjustments in his musculature. "Their reaction time exceeds our best enhanced soldiers," Kavorn noted to his aide. "And their predictive movement algorithms must be extraordinarily sophisticated to maintain balance under these conditions." "Sir, they don't use algorithms. Their balance is entirely biological, a complex interaction between inner ear fluid, visual processing, and proprioception." Kavorn's scaled skin rippled in the Dreskari expression of disbelief. "You're suggesting this performance is natural selection?" "According to their submitted biological profile, yes. Humans evolved as pursuit predators on uneven terrain. Their ancestors chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. The tournament finally ended when the gravity generators reached their safety limits. As Rodriguez and Washington were declared winners by default, the human team celebrated with displays of physical contact that disturbed many observers, slapping palms together, embracing, and engaging in ritualistic group movements that security systems initially flagged as potential aggression signals. The post-event medical scan revealed the most disturbing data yet. The humans' bodies had begun adapting to the extreme conditions. Muscle fiber density had increased by 3%, bone calcium levels had risen, and their metabolic efficiency had improved compared to their baseline readings before the event. That night, the Galactic Security Council received an urgent report from the tournament's scientific observers. Human physiology demonstrates unprecedented adaptation to stress. Unlike all documented species, their bodies respond to physical challenges by becoming more efficient and developing structural improvements in real time. Theoretical models suggest that extended exposure to extreme environments would trigger accelerated evolutionary responses, potentially allowing humans to adapt to conditions that would require generations of genetic engineering in other species. The implications were clear. Any environment designed to contain humans would eventually become navigable as their bodies adapted. Any weapon calibrated to their physiology would gradually lose effectiveness. The tournament had inadvertently revealed humanity's most frightening quality. They didn't merely endure hardship, they evolved in response to it. Ambassador Sophia Torres maintained perfect posture despite not having slept for 72 hours. The negotiation chamber glowed with the soft blue light emitted by the Myriocean delegates, whose crystalline forms phased between solid and translucent states with increasing frequency, a sign of their physiological distress from extended corporeal manifestation. "Perhaps we should adjourn until your delegation has completed a regeneration cycle," Torres suggested, noting their deteriorating condition. The Myriocean elder, Luxwan, vibrated in a pattern that the translators interpreted as combined exhaustion and astonishment. "You have not entered rest state either, Ambassador. Your species' requirement for neural reset was documented at 6 to 8 hours per planetary rotation." Torres smiled diplomatically. "I've gone without sleep before during critical negotiations. Coffee helps." She raised the metal container of black liquid that her aides had been refilling throughout the talks. The Myriocean delegates conferred through light pulses invisible to human eyes, their conversation translated and transmitted to Torres' neural implant. The human shows no signs of cognitive impairment despite extreme sleep deprivation. Their diplomatic capabilities remain at full capacity. This defies all xenobiological predictions. Outside the negotiation dome, Lieutenant Diane Wu positioned her security team strategically around both the human landing site and the Myriocean settlement. The mixed force of 20 Marines had rotated sleep shifts, but Wu herself had remained on duty alongside Torres, monitoring the complex energy patterns surrounding the phase-shifting aliens. Her neural implant pinged with a proximity alert. Movement at Sector 7. She subvocalized to her team. Atmospheric disturbance consistent with ship engines. Wu's suspicions were confirmed moments later when 3 unmarked vessels descended through the cloud cover, their design matching Krell Dominion raiders. The ships deployed triangular formation, targeting both the negotiation dome and the defense perimeters simultaneously. Hostile contact imminent. Wu announced, the combat stimulants in her bloodstream activating in response to her elevated adrenaline. Protocol Echo 97. Inside the dome, Torres received Wu's alert and smoothly rose from her seat. Elder Luxvon, we have unwelcome visitors. Please phase your delegation to safety. The Myrioceans, already weakened from extended manifestation, struggled to shift fully to their non-corporeal state. 3 delegates collapsed, their crystalline forms becoming dangerously solid and vulnerable. The first explosive charges hit as Torres dove across the table, covering the Myriocean elder with her body as the dome's structure fractured. Wu's team moved with precision that belied their fatigue. Marines flowing into defensive formations practiced countless times in simulation. Wu took a plasma burst to her left arm as she positioned herself between the raiders and the negotiation dome. The medical nanites in her bloodstream immediately cauterized the wound and delivered localized pain suppressants, while her neural implant rerouted command functions to compensate for the injury. Maintain perimeter integrity, she ordered, firing her pulse rifle one-handed while applying a field dressing with her injured arm. Priority protection for the diplomats. From his observation post 5 kilometers away, Krell Commander Drazkar watched in confusion as his tactical display showed human life signs maintaining organized resistance patterns despite injuries that should have incapacitated them. Most disturbing was their response speed. The human defenders had anticipated ambush vectors that Krell tactical computers had calculated as unpredictable. They were ready, he hissed to his second-in-command. Not just alert, prepared for our specific approach. Impossible, his officer replied. Their defensive systems cannot have detected our stealth field. They didn't need to, Drazkar realized, watching Lieutenant Wu coordinate a counter-offensive with frightening efficiency. They predicted our tactics through intuition. The battle ended in less than 20 minutes, with the Krell forces retreating after suffering unexpected casualties. The Myriocean High Council received the security footage with what their species expressed as profound disturbance. Humans operating at peak combat effectiveness despite 72 hours without rest, coordinating seamlessly despite communications disruption, and most alarmingly, continuing to function despite injuries that should have rendered them combat ineffective. The Galactic Conquests classified the incident report under the highest security protocols, with a simple annotation: humans demonstrate unprecedented threat adaptation and combat continuity. Standard containment protocols will be ineffective. Commander David Okafor studied the holographic recording of the diplomatic aid from Sigma Draconis for the 19th time. Something in the beam's movements still triggered that inexplicable feeling in his gut, a sensation he had learned to trust through years of counterintelligence work. Replay the reception sequence again, he instructed the system. Focus on micro-expressions during the ambassador's speech. His second-in-command, Major Helen Park, leaned against his desk. David, we've run every biometric scan in the database. The diplomatic credentials check out perfectly. The credentials are genuine, Okafor agreed, eyes never leaving the display. But the beam presenting them isn't. When the infiltrator was finally apprehended 48 hours later, The security team found a sophisticated molecular restructuring device hidden within a ceremonial medallion. The shapeshifter had been living among humans for 17 months, gathering intelligence while perfectly mimicking the appearance, voice, and mannerisms of the real aide, who was later found in suspended animation aboard a cloaked vessel in Earth orbit. In the specialized containment chamber beneath Earth Alliance headquarters, Okafor faced the captured infiltrator. The being had abandoned its human disguise, revealing its natural form, a translucent entity with distributed neural clusters visible through its semi-fluid outer membrane. "Your detection systems should not have identified me," the Shroud operative stated, its voice modulating through what appeared to be specialized sound-generating organs. "Our mimicry is perfect down to the cellular level. We replicate not just appearance but thought patterns, pheromone signatures, and neural responses." Okafor remained silent, allowing the being to continue its assessment. "We have successfully infiltrated 12 advanced civilizations, including 3 with higher technological development than your own. None detected our presence until we chose to reveal ourselves." The being's neural clusters pulsed with patterns suggesting confusion. "Yet you identified my operative through means our analysis cannot explain." "It wasn't technology that caught you," Okafor finally replied. "It was instinct." The Shroud representative's outer membrane rippled. "Explain." "Human beings evolved as both predators and prey. We developed the ability to recognize when something isn't quite right, even when we can't immediately identify what's wrong. You call it pattern recognition. We sometimes call it a gut feeling or intuition. Your operative was perfect in every measurable way, but still triggered that ancient warning system." The intelligence extracted from the captured operative revealed a disturbing truth. The Shroud had infiltrated human governments, specifically because Earth presented a unique challenge. After successfully manipulating other species for millennia, they had encountered a primitive yet emerging power that somehow detected their presence through means their advanced technology couldn't counter. In her secure chamber on the Shroud homeworld, the matriarch reviewed the report with growing concern. The human ability to detect deception without technological assistance represented an evolutionary development. Unseen in the millions of years, the Shroud had been manipulating younger species. "They sense wrongness instinctively," she communicated to the High Council. "Their neural architecture includes pathways dedicated to detecting anomalies in their environment, particularly in social interactions. What our species developed technology to accomplish, they evolved naturally." The implications were clear and disturbing. The Shroud's primary method of influence, perfect mimicry and infiltration, was ineffective against humanity. Worse, the humans were now aware of their existence and techniques. The High Council's decision was unanimous and unprecedented. Classify humans as a Category 1 infiltration risk. Cancel all operations involving Earth immediately. Humans represent the first species in our recorded history with natural immunity to our influence methodology. The directive included a biological security addendum that spread fear through the normally impassive Shroud hierarchy. Their threat detection ability appears to operate on a subconscious level we cannot access or replicate. They perceive deception through channels we cannot yet identify. Most concerning, they respond not with confusion or fear, but with organized pursuit behaviors. Humans do not merely detect predators. They become predators themselves when threatened. Captain Aisha Mendez stepped through the airlock into Research Station Omega-7's main corridor, environmental sensors indicating breathable atmosphere despite the facility's apparent abandonment. The walls were covered with equations, written in what appeared to be a frantic hand, using various implements, marker, blood, and substances her suit couldn't identify. "Dr. Kim, analysis," she requested, gesturing to the mathematical formulas that spiraled across every surface. Dr. Leo Kim activated his specialized scanner, the device projecting holographic overlays as it interpreted the symbols. "Multiple mathematical systems here. Some I recognize from various species, others." He paused, eyes widening. "These are attempts to describe higher dimensional geometry in limited mathematical languages. Someone was trying to quantify something they couldn't properly perceive. The dauntless crew moved deeper into the station, discovering more disturbing evidence of what had transpired. Security recordings showed crew members from 3 different species exhibiting increasing paranoia before attacking each other or themselves. The final logs contained warnings in multiple languages, all essentially communicating the same message. It lives in the space between thoughts. Do not let it see you thinking about it. In the central research chamber, they found it, a spatial anomaly suspended within a partially collapsed containment field. The phenomenon appeared as a twisting absence of reality, like a hole not just in space, but in comprehension itself. The entity is consuming the electromagnetic patterns of consciousness, Dr. Kim stated, his voice steady despite the sweat beading on his forehead. It's a predator that evolved to hunt awareness itself. As they observed, Lieutenant Rodriguez collapsed, screaming about infinite regression and the meaninglessness of existence. 2 more crew members followed, their minds overwhelmed by what the entity projected, the cosmic insignificance of all life against the vastness of universe. Captain Mendez felt it too, a crushing weight of existential terror pressing against her consciousness. Images of stars dying and galaxies collapsing into cold nothingness, the ultimate futility of all endeavor in a universe marching inexorably toward entropy. Yet something in her mind compartmentalized these thoughts, filing them alongside other philosophical concepts she had contemplated throughout her life. "Kim, are you functional?" she asked, noting that the scientist remained upright, though visibly struggling. "Yes, Captain," he managed, voice strained. "Interestingly, I've considered most of these concepts before during my studies of cosmological philosophy. The entity appears to be weaponizing existential dread." Mendez almost laughed despite the situation. "So it's attacking us with the same thoughts humans have been contemplating since we first looked at the stars and realized our own smallness." "Precisely," Kim confirmed, activating his specialized scanner again. "And that may explain why the previous rescue teams failed. Most spacefaring species evolve in environments where their significance is reinforced, apex predators, dominant life forms. Their societies develop strong cognitive frameworks that presume meaningful existence and cosmic importance. All humans evolved questioning our place in the cosmos." Mendez finished the thought. "We've been thinking about our own insignificance since we developed philosophy." Kim nodded, his scanner recording the entity's fluctuations. "Humans have integrated existential uncertainty into our art, literature, religion, and science. We don't just acknowledge cosmic horror, we write entertainment about it." As the entity focused its attention on the remaining conscious humans, it encountered something unprecedented in its 50,000 years of hunting sentient minds. Creatures that acknowledged their cosmic insignificance without surrendering to despair, who stared into the abyss of meaninglessness and responded with defiant purpose rather than madness. In her personal log, recovered after the mission, Captain Mendez wrote, "The entity didn't fail to affect us. We felt the same existential terror it induced in the others. The difference was that we've been living with these thoughts our entire intellectual history. What it used as a weapon, we've used as philosophical exploration. Human consciousness developed not by denying the void, but by acknowledging it and continuing anyway." The Galactic Science Academy classified the mission report with a simple, chilling addendum. "Humanity possesses natural psychological resistance to existential weaponry. Their minds incorporate cosmic dread as a standard operating parameter." Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka worked without sleep for the 3rd consecutive day. The laboratory's holographic displays, filled with microscopic imagery of the pathogen ravaging 17 species across 4 sectors. His eyes were bloodshot, his movements precise despite his exhaustion, as the death toll throughout the Orion Spur climbed past 11 billion. "The conventional approaches have failed," he explained to the Emergency Response Council, their concerned faces floating in communication arrays around his workstation. "This pathogen adapts too quickly for traditional vaccines or antivirals." "Then what hope remains, Doctor?" asked the Vexillian counselor, their crystalline features refracting light in patterns expressing despair. Tanaka picked up a small transparent container holding what appeared to be ordinary clear liquid. This is a solution containing modified human rhinovirus, what we call the common cold. The Galactic Medical Director's expression shifted to alarm. You're proposing fighting this plague with another virus, one from your world? Precisely, Tanaka nodded. Earth's biosphere produced millions of viral variants over our evolutionary history. Humans didn't just survive alongside these microscopic predators. We incorporated elements of their genetic material into our own genome. He activated a molecular visualization showing the rhinovirus structure. This modified cold virus has been engineered to recognize the plague pathogen and deliver customized antigens to affected cells. It can replicate rapidly, spreading through populations faster than the disease itself, essentially turning the pathogen's transmission vectors against it. The council members exchanged concerned glances. You're suggesting releasing an Earth-originated virus throughout affected systems. The Corlin representative's breathing apparatus hissed with agitation. The containment risk alone. With respect, Counselor, Tanaka interrupted, we're facing trillions of potential casualties. The rhinovirus has been modified to remain viable for only 48 hours before self-terminating. It poses no long-term risk. What Tanaka didn't fully explain was how easily this modification had been accomplished, how human virologists had developed symbiotic relationships with microorganisms that other species viewed only as existential threats. Earth's biological history had created a complex dance between host and pathogen, predator and prey at the microscopic level, resulting in adaptability that the galactic community found simultaneously miraculous and terrifying. 3 weeks after deployment of the modified rhinovirus, infection rates dropped by 87%. Within 2 months, the plague was classified as contained. Dr. Tanaka received the highest civilian honor the Galactic Concord could bestow. Yet behind closed doors, the Concord's Biological Security Council convened an emergency session to address the implications of what humanity had revealed. The humans manipulated a virus from their homeworld with a level of precision our best geneticists cannot match, noted the senior biological security director. They transformed what was, by their own admission, a pathogen into a delivery system for medical intervention. More concerning, added the Dreskari representative, is the casual nature with which they deployed this solution. Their scientists speak of viruses as tools rather than threats. They describe their relationship with microorganisms in almost symbiotic terms. The classified report distributed to Concord leadership contained a warning that sent ripples of concern through the highest levels of galactic governance. Human biology represents both an unparalleled medical resource and a potential extinction-level threat. Every human carries millions of microorganisms that could, with minimal mutation, devastate non-terrestrial ecosystems. More alarming than this biological arsenal is humanity's sophisticated understanding of how to deploy it. To humanity, microorganisms are not merely pathogens, but potential partners that can be reprogrammed for specific functions. In his laboratory on Earth, Dr. Tanaka remained unaware of the fear his solution had generated as he documented the final results of the intervention. His notes reflected the standard human perspective that had so disturbed the galactic community. The modified rhinovirus performed beyond expectations, demonstrating once again that Earth's biological diversity offers solutions to challenges beyond our planet. What we once viewed as adversaries in our evolutionary history may well become our greatest allies among the stars. The Galactic Medical Registry updated humanity's classification with a simple addendum that carried profound implications. Treat all human biological material as potentially symbiotic, weaponizable, or both. Admiral Zhang Wei received the Galactic Concord's classification document in her office overlooking the Earth Alliance headquarters in Geneva. The holographic display projected the official designation with its accompanying security protocols. Humanity. Class A evolutionary anomaly. Approach with diplomatic caution. Military engagement not recommended. She dismissed her aides with a slight gesture. studying the document alone. The Concord had compiled everything they had learned about humans into a comprehensive threat assessment. Resistance to telepathic influence, extraordinary physiological adaptability, intuitive pattern recognition that bordered on precognition, psychological compartmentalization that rendered existential weapons ineffective, and biological compatibility with microorganisms that could be weaponized or repurposed. Zhang smiled faintly at the clinical language, recognizing the fear beneath the diplomatic phrasing. She remembered her grandmother's stories about humanity's ancient history, how early humans had survived ice ages with nothing but fur skins and fire, how they had crossed oceans in wooden vessels guided by stars, how they had looked at diseases that decimated populations and eventually tamed them into vaccines. Her response to the Galactic Concord was brief but carefully considered. The Earth Alliance acknowledges receipt of species classification. We look forward to continued peaceful cooperation throughout the galactic community. What she did not include was her personal message to Earth's Leadership Council. They've categorized us based on their fears rather than our intentions. They see the shadow of what we could be rather than what we are. Our journey to the stars was never about conquest. It was about connection. 3 years later, Zhang stood on the observation deck of the Earth Alliance flagship Endeavour, watching as thousands of ships from 23 species formed a united defensive line against the approaching hive mind collective. A consciousness spread across millions of drone entities that had consumed 3 star systems in the outer rim. The unprecedented coalition had formed around a strategy developed by human tactical analysts who recognized patterns in the hive's expansion that other species had missed. Admiral, her communications officer called. The Corlin fleet is having difficulty maintaining formation in the radiation belt. Their ship's shielding isn't designed for these conditions. Zhang nodded. Deploy our support vessels to extend our shield umbrella, and have Dr. Tanaka's team distribute the radiation countermeasures to their crews. Across the massive defensive operation, human adaptability became the connective tissue holding together species with incompatible technologies, biologies, and tactical doctrines. Human communication specialists developed simplified protocols that bridged linguistic gaps. Human medical teams created treatments compatible with dozens of different physiologies. Human engineers improvised interfaces between technological systems never designed to work together. On the command frequency shared by the coalition leadership, the Varikian High Commander expressed what many were thinking. The very qualities that made us fear humans are now our greatest asset. Their biological adaptability allows them to work in environments lethal to our species. Their psychological resilience keeps morale intact despite overwhelming odds. Their intuitive understanding of patterns helps anticipate the hive's movements. Zhang's response was simple. What appears monstrous in one context becomes heroic in another. Humanity evolved not just to survive adversity, but to help others through it. As the coalition forces engaged the Hive Mind Collective in a battle that would determine the fate of a dozen civilizations, the Galactic Conquests Security Council received a priority update to humanity's classification file. The amendment read, "While humans possess capabilities that could make them the most dangerous species in known space, their evolutionary path has oriented these abilities toward protection rather than domination. What makes them formidable is paradoxically what makes them essential allies. They transform survival traits into collaborative advantages. The species that could most easily conquer appears instead most determined to connect." The final line in the updated classification represented a profound shift in the galaxy's understanding of its most puzzling inhabitants. Humanity's greatest evolutionary adaptation may be their capacity to reimagine strength as service.